Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Astrology Now. And hello to you, Babula. How are you?
Hi, Cheryl. I'm good.
That's good. You know, we didn't have a pre-chat to this, so I'm just going to lay this on you.
Go for it.
Well, I was having a Sagittarian philosophical thought about Gemini, actually. And I was thinking that I was thinking about it's a new moon in Gemini coming up, and I know we're going to talk about all the other things that are going on in the background and different planets doing this and that, etc. But I was thinking about um, because there's been a lot of, in my field of research, in the UFO field, there was a lot happened over the weekend. There was media stories coming out, flying out left, right, and center all over the place every couple of hours.
Wow.
And I was thinking, wow, this is a opportunity for a new chapter in our curiosity that has the potential to lead us to more awakening. And I started to think about, the curiosity. This is Gemini we're talking about here. Curious, curious, curious. And there has been a lot of attention, world attention, focused on what's been going on. And because there's been whistleblower at high level of in the military coming out. There's been other people in the disclosure free webinar on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it, on Dr. Stephen Greer's YouTube channel. More whistleblowers there, another 6 people, and there's a whole string of other whistleblowers coming out. And I'm thinking, wow, you couldn't get any more Gemini than that. Blah, 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 talk, pass on information, like what's going on. And I just thought, wow, this just so fits with
Yes.
what's actually happening right now.
Yes, it certainly does. Information flying around everywhere. And of course, information is food for the Gemini person. It's, air, food, sustenance. It's all about information. And the word curiosity is perfect. That curious mind, that part of us that gets so interested in everything and tremendous variety as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a bit of a low boredom threshold here. You got to keep it kind of interesting and moving and this point of view and that point of view and what about this and what about that and information and the media and words and language and ideas, and it moves really quickly.
Absolutely. Like, it was just mind-blowing what had been happening.
Yes.
Still going on. And it's like, in a way, in our lives, we have a surface level of discourse, or in society, a surface level of discourse that goes on. But actually, the language we use and the thoughts we have and expressing that through the language we use, that can, that can feed our soul and take us into the deeper trenches on the other side of the chart into the Sagittarian aspect. Because I was thinking about that, the Gemini Sagittarius axis, and Gemini's gathering all the information, and and it sort of crosses over into that Sagittarian side to take us down into the deep trench, the Mariana's Trench of Sagittarius philosophy.
That's right. That's right. So that's such an interesting combination, and we talked a bit about it last time with that full moon in Sagittarius opposite the Sun in Gemini, and it's that love of information and data and ideas and thoughts and possibilities that's moving literally like quicksilver. The metal, if technically it's actually a metal, I believe it's called a metal, Mercury. And named after the planet, or the planet's named after it, is often literally called quicksilver. And our mind, our Gemini mercurial mind, moves like quicksilver, like that, and changes its mind like that, so fast in the blink of an eye. And Sagittarius is absolutely more the philosophical, bigger framework, bigger picture idea of, well, I've got all this information and data. What does it all mean?
Exactly.
Like, what is the real meaning? What is the philosophical idea behind this, or what do I actually believe? Now, this takes us into a very interesting territory with Gemini. And, I'm always feeling the need to bring up the shadow side of everything, of every sign of every planet. And the shadow of Gemini has got a lot to do with, and this might make some people feel a bit, oh, I don't like that idea, if they're very Gemini, is literally lying.
Absolutely.
Being two-faced.
Yeah.
Right. And there is a great example of that in public life. And I won't mention his name because I don't think it'll be helpful for your, for the YouTube video. But there's an ex-PM from the UK who's kind of recently been booted out in disgrace, but he has a long, long, long history. If you read any articles written about this man, he's very Gemini. The long history and the general opinion of so many people who actually know him is that, every time he opens his mouth, very rarely is truth being spoken.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So it's also that side of Gemini that can flip from one thing to the other and flip the opposite and turn it around to say one thing, but actually the opposite is true.
Yeah.
Or change their minds so fast that you're left feeling a bit confused and bamboozled, because this sign comes with a great gift for words.
Mm.
Now, for those beautiful Geminis out there, I'm not at all suggesting that all Geminis lie. That's not what I'm saying, but there is the shadow to everything.
Yes.
To every sign has it. And in Gemini, it's issues around what is being spoken or written. Now, how do I know that that's actually true?
Yes.
Because there's two twins. It's the sign of duality, and it can flip from one to the other so fast, it can make your head spin.
Yeah, because in Gemini you have that lying aspect. In Sagittarius they have the exaggeration aspect.
Yes,
these are not truths.
That's right.
Exact truth. So there's no fact checking going on there.
No, and isn't that an interesting idea? That's right. And so we've only got to look at the media.
Yeah.
Who have a long history of saying a lot without actually saying anything. Politicians are very good at that. I'm sure they're trained, when they're asked a direct question, to never actually answer the question.
Yeah, because they're very good at doing that.
Very good. And they ramble on, and there's lots of words come out of their mouth. Lots of words. And often it means absolutely nothing, or it's a bull-faced lie, actually.
Yeah.
So, this is the kind of territory, and we're seeing a lot of people in public life, in significant positions of power, just in very recent weeks, even all over the world, and in this country too, resigning.
Yes.
Their positions. And of course, the publicly accepted reason is, because I want to spend more time with my family. And every time you hear that, you kind of go, oh yeah, right, okay, what's really going on?
Yeah.
We're never actually told what's really going on. Things are being said.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking in relation to Gemini, though, is that in our society we're not encouraged to speak our minds. Yes. Or have deeply philosophical conversations that drive our curiosity. The whole thing is don't say or speak things or say things that are against the norm. Don't even think it. But our thoughts and our language, accompanied by our emotions, are our evolutionary drivers. So we need our curiosity to be sparked so that inspiration from Mercury can find an opening in our consciousness, basically.
Yes, that's right. And all the signs and what they represent can be used by powerful forces to manipulate and control. And with Gemini, it's manipulation and control of what is taught to children in the education system, in schools. I'm coming across more and more information and comments from people about, going to local library to get books out for children and finding what's actually on the shelves and being absolutely shocked and appalled. Libraries are Gemini, books, reading, a child's curiosity, and what are they actually being fed?
Yes. Yeah.
Into their minds.
Yeah.
and the programming that goes on, you know, in that mental landscape.
Mm. So Gemini is a very curious energy. Put it
Yes,
that way, you know, in so
very.
many ways.
And it's, you know, and it's light. It's a light, it's an air sign. It has a lightness about it. Gemini's, now, of course, everyone's chart and nature is a multi-complex of all sorts of different things. I'm just speaking in very general terms here. It's a very light, fun, playful energy that I really enjoy. You know, it's very kind of quick and curious and fun, and keeps everything very interesting. And you can have really fantastic conversations with Gemini, but you have to be prepared to move really quickly mentally,
Absolutely.
right? Because the conversation will keep changing course, and I quite enjoy that if it's
Yeah.
really interesting. You know, it's kind of fun and interesting.
Well,
Um,
what I found on the weekend was, you know, I was following the stories that were coming out every couple of hours, posting it on our Facebook page, um, and I'm going, oh, what's that? Got to read that quick. Oh, quick over here, double check that, fact check, fact check. Is that true? Who else is saying that? Like,
that's right.
you know, all this sort of stuff, and it was just like I felt excited, I felt ignited, because I've got it, you know, Sun in Sag, Moon in Gemini, Aquarius rising. It's like, wow, this is all my stuff.
That's right.
You know, and it was like, but it was so fluid. The stories were
Yes,
so fluid. You had to go with it very quickly, be quick on your feet, and that's a very Gemini trait too.
very. And fluid, it's a mutable sign. You know, Gemini and Sagittarius are mutable signs, and the mutable signs also includes Pisces and Virgo, move very quickly and are very fluid, and everything's constantly in movement, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the fixed signs are not, and the cardinal signs have more of a sense of purposeful direction. The mutable signs are all about, and this is interesting with Gemini, and Gemini's love of information. Oh, what was I going to say? Is, see, Gemini, like what happened to that idea, to that thought? Boom, it's gone.
Being
It's
fluid.
very fluid and very quick and very mutable.
Mm.
And so people with a lot of Gemini, they don't have to be a sun in Gemini, just with a Gemini emphasis. They're like that. You'll see it even in their body type very often. It's a slim, light, smallish body that can move really quickly.
Mm.
You know, unless there's a lot of earth in the chart, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, the sun's been in Gemini now for a couple of weeks. So we've been in the Gemini zone very much. And I think of, you know, people with a lot of Gemini, for example, a great example is Russell Brand.
Mm. Oh,
You know, now I've always enjoyed him, you know, for years and years and years and years and years, and watched his evolution and all the transformations he's been through over many years. But if you know, if you want, and he's absolutely here to communicate
mm.
and connect. You see, Gemini is about connecting,
Mm.
connecting ideas, even with the sign of the twins, even within oneself, you're connecting opposite thoughts and ideas and possibilities. But and I notice with him, he'll have a conversation with anyone, even people that he doesn't agree with.
Mm.
He's up for having the conversation to air the opposite point of view, which is a very positive, higher level use of Gemini energy.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Not trying to shut down somebody's different position or point of view. And he wants the conversation.
Yes. Yes. So it's all about the conversation.
That's right. Even if it's completely an opposite position.
Yeah.
And you can see he's curious, like, oh, God, that's interesting. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
That's Gemini at its best, you know,
Mm.
wanting to be open to all possible ideas.
Mm. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I hear you. I understand it fully.
that's right. Because it's your moon, you know, you can
Yes.
really relate to that. That's
Yes.
right.
And the different areas of research that I study, I'm always cross-pollinating them too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
That's what I was getting to. Yeah, this idea of connecting. Sorry, I cut across you.
oh no, that's okay. Just the cross-pollination is it's like that's when you have the aha moments, like, wow, that this is happening in this field of research, but wait a minute, isn't this similar to this field of research? Isn't this a similar sort of situation? And well, that makes this area much bigger than what I actually thought it was, you know.
Right.
So it's like there's the curiosity, then there's, you know, the digging around in it, that's all other reasons, but and then taking that information and moving it around to see where else it might apply or might be interesting or might be beneficial or whatever. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Cross-pollination, interconnections between everything, connecting dots.
Mm.
Dots, 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 dot. Oh, how do they all connect? And if you look at, images of the nervous system in the human body, Gemini has a lot to do with the nervous system. There's a lot of kind of high nervous energy, which is why a lot of Gemini people are very fidgety and restless. Even when they're sitting still, they're not really still.
Yeah.
They're fiddling with something, or their feet are moving, or they're tapping on the table with something, or
Stop tapping.
yeah, or they're jiggling their coins in their pocket, or it's like this things are moving and their eyes are moving around, and it's very, very, very quick. But it's about, and you might think they're not listening, but they're kind of listening, but they're picking up information from all sorts of places at the same time, and inside it's moving so fast, but they're connecting dots.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And I've found in the past that I can be in a room full of people having different conversations, and I've been able to hear all the conversations at the same time.
Amazing.
Listening to them all, you know. I'm not so good at that now because I focus on things differently.
Yes.
But when I was younger, I could make a comment at the right time about each conversation. I had people saying to me, how do you do that? How do you tune into so many conversations at once? It just happens.
That's right. Your whole nervous system and brain and ears, they're just attuned to that. Gemini moon, it's part of what you are. That's right. It is. It's fascinating.
It is.
It's so, and we could, I can feel it. We could talk about this for hours. We're chatting away, and yes, and
It's
there's
going to be a very
love,
chatty episode.
and there's love of having, really interesting, stimulating conversations. And you used a word like focus. Gemini often gets accused of lack of focus. It's not its job to be focused. Other signs can do that. Right? A Capricorn, Scorpio, like boom, focus. That's not Gemini's role. It's not its purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, of course, means it can be distracted.
Very distracted.
Easily distracted from goals or from doing something.
There's so many interesting things happening.
Oh, look, there's a butterfly.
That's right. And I don't want to miss any of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And butterflies and bees in the garden, if you watch them, and the winged creatures, it's one of the reasons I wore feather earrings today. It's in honor of the winged creatures, because that's very Gemini. If watch butterflies, they'll fly really close, and then they're off, and they're always on the move, unless they're feeding at a flower. And bees too, the winged creatures.
Yes.
Flying through the air, it's an air sign. It's that light energy of movement with the wings, moving quickly. Yeah.
I always think of dragonflies.
Yes. Flitting.
Flit, 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 flit. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So yes, they're often accused of being superficial and lacking focus and so on. And that's, in some ways, that might be valid, but really it's not its job. There will be, if someone is a Gemini and they do have a capacity for really deep work and commitment and focus, it's other things in their chart that provide that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we have this amazing new moon in Gemini coming up.
Yes, we do. We do.
So, are you going to tell us about anything else that's happening in the background before then? Or?
Well, no, we've just, our friend Pluto has just turned, well, he's been retrograde for a little while, just, moving back through that tiny little bit of Aquarius, and just a couple of days ago moved back into Capricorn. So, I've noticed around the place there seems to be a response to that many people have felt it as a kind of a heaviness, like all of a sudden, like, oh, suddenly things feel a bit heavy. And I'm not particularly experiencing that, but I'm seeing it around me and I'm hearing it from other people. So yes, Capricorn is now in retrograde motion, Pluto back in Capricorn, 29, something like 29 degrees and 58 minutes. So it's right at that end. And it will move back to about 28.5 degrees of Capricorn through to the end of this year. So it's with us in Cap now to the end of the year. And then we'll move back into Aquarius early next year. So yes, so there can be a continuing or a heightening, and I am seeing signs of this, a heightening of those who regard themselves in control of the world, really endeavoring to, and I'll use the words, tighten the noose.
Yes.
I'm seeing signs of that.
Right, yes.
Like immediately that Capricorn, Pluto moved back into Cap. So that's a part of this process, yes. So that's and coming up shortly, Saturn on the new moon. So let's talk about the new moon. Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, now in Pisces, will turn retrograde. So Saturn's actually very slow right now. It's when a planet's about to change direction, particularly the slower moving out of planets like Saturn and beyond, it appears from our perspective on Earth that they've literally come to a standstill. So Saturn is now very, very slow about, it's like a big train or a big ship or a big truck suddenly comes to a red light and it needs lots of space to slow right down and slow before it can actually stop. And then it will turn back. So that's adding to that feeling of like, oh, things might be feeling that way. For some people, a sense of struggle.
Okay.
It might be feeling more of a sense of struggle, or things just feeling, or suddenly they're feeling a bit emotionally down where they might have been feeling quite buoyant. So when we look at the new moon on the 18th of June, in the eastern states of Australia, it's 2:36 p.m. in the afternoon is the moment of the new moon when the sun and the moon come together. And of course, around those couple of days of every new moon, it's the dark phase of the moon when there is no moon visible in the night sky. So it's the dark of the moon and the beginning of a new lunar cycle, which is at 26 degrees of Gemini. So people who know their chart might want to locate that in their birth chart where that is. And so this occurs every year, of course, as a new moon in Gemini. What's connected to this new moon is a couple of things. It has quite a close square to Neptune in Pisces. Now, Neptune's been in Pisces since, I always have to stop and remember all these slow-moving planets. I think it was 2011, moved into Pisces, and won't fully leave Pisces and move into Aries until early 2026. So it's at the last couple of degrees now.
Yeah.
And just on that, and I've said this before, but some people who may not have heard this, over the next 2 to 3 years, all the slow moving outer planets are all one after another going to be changing sign. The fact that that's happening all together within a short time frame is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
2025, 2026, we're going to see some massive shifts because these slow moving outer planets all together, one after another, are changing signs. Normally that would happen, one would change signs after being in a sign for many years, and then a few years later another one. But no, this is all happening within a short time frame. So Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and it's significantly connected to this new moon. So the influence that can have, we've been talking about information, and with Gemini square to Neptune, that can all get overwhelming, very confusing.
Yeah.
What is true, what is not,
Yeah.
veils of illusion. It's smoke screens. We're going to have to be very aware and conscious and very alert to what is being spoken in the public sphere. A lot of it will be smoke screens and red herrings, and it will cause a great deal of confusion.
What do you think about false spirituality?
Absolutely. Same.
Yeah.
And, we have to be really fine tuning our intuition and our gut senses. And I think, it's something I practice as much as possible. I come across information and I go, curious, interesting. That might be true. I'd like it to be true, but I'm well aware that it may not be true.
Yes.
So I try to keep a really open mind as much as possible. And I think that's a really healthy way to go about things. We're living in a world that's just full of deception.
Oh, in so many ways, people just I don't think they really understand.
No, just so much deception.
Yeah.
And, in the Vedic Indian tradition, they call it Maya, this world of illusion. And in the ultimate spiritual sense, it's all illusion. But just on a daily human reality, experience of our human life, it's just layers and layers of illusion and lies and smoke screens everywhere. So it's tricky. And so it adds a certain high degree of sensitivity. Like in the body, Gemini, in medical astrology, Gemini governs the lungs and our breath. And one thing Neptune is about medically is a few things. The immune system, a weakened immune system. So we might be, I would say we will be more susceptible to airborne bugs in the atmosphere and, weaken our immune system. And, we do know that all sorts of things are being sprayed from the skies over the planet and so on. So there's that. I'm not trying to terrify people, but we have to look at all of these things. It's part of the world we live in. What else? There was something else I wanted to say about that Neptune, the weakened immune system, and information that might lead us astray. We have to really develop our intuition, even down to, well, what are they actually putting in supplements that we think are good for us? That's what it was. Neptune is also the ruler of drugs, pharmaceuticals, alcohol, things like this, things that often we turn to take us away from harsh reality.
Yes.
So I think we're going to be quite open to things that may not be particularly good for us, or even psychic harm.
Yeah.
Information can be used to psychically cause harm. I'm actually talking about white and black magic here.
Yeah.
Gemini, interestingly enough, has a connection to magic and magicians, very much so. And magic can be used in a very positive way and also as a form of entertainment. But there is such a thing on this planet as black magic.
Yes.
Used to deceive.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I was going to go into that territory, but there it is.
Go for it.
That's a part of Gemini, and in square to Neptune, like what is real?
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to know.
Mm.
So I think we just have to stay very open to, yeah, maybe, maybe not.
I think so. I think that's very important
Yeah,
to sharpen up our BS detector.
absolutely.
Follow our instincts. I think this is one of the things with Gemini is because it's so fast, like Quicksilver, it
Yeah.
doesn't always take the time to sit with something,
Yes.
and unless you sit with something, then you can't tune into your instincts or your gut feelings, right?
Yes.
So that's something we have to be aware of, is not so much haste
Yes.
in rushing into things,
That's
that
right.
sort of thing. Just, it's okay. These things aren't going away. You can stand back. You can have a look at it. What do you think? How do you feel? And then make up your mind if you're going to at all. Anyway.
That's right. And to be really open-minded and to question. Is that, some people listening to this may have come across the work of Byron Katie, and it's literally called The Work. It's amazing body of work. She brought through many years ago. And one of the questions in the process is that really true?
Yes.
And then the recipient of the question has, and I've experienced it many times. Some years ago, I did a lot of that work, and it stopped when you're in that space with the facilitator. It stops you dead in your tracks, and you go, "Is that really true?" Oh, and we realize that, oh, I never stopped to even question it. I just believed that thought. It's
Yes.
all about questioning our thoughts.
Yes.
And then the next question is literally, can you really know for sure? Because the answer to the first question might be, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's true. So the next question is, can you really know for sure that that's true? That absolutely stops you in your tracks.
Yeah.
Well, I can't really know for certain.
Well, we operate on a belief system, don't we?
That's right.
And I'm going back to the Gemini Sag on the opposite sides of the axis, right? So, Gemini is gathering the information and Sag is saying, looking for the truth in it,
Yes.
sifting through it, but saying, what is the truth of that? That
Yes.
sort of thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So they work well together.
They do. And so it's about, questioning information, but also questioning our beliefs, which is
Yes.
Sagittarius.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as that work continues, I'm seeing how Gemini this is. The follow on from that is, okay, now turn it around. So you've written a sentence that says, so and so doesn't love me, for example. There's a belief. Okay, that's a conclusion I've come to. So and so, or my mother never loved me, or whatever it is. And you literally write it down, and then the facilitator takes you through all these questions to literally to unpack that thought.
Yeah.
It is so simple and so powerful and profound. And then there's the turn it around. And that's so Gemini. Okay, flip it on its head, which is what black magic does. It flips everything on its head and turns it back to front. And the flip it on its head is, turn that thought around. My mother never loved me. My mother did love me. Oh, and you can hear that and you go, oh, that's nonsense. But when you're in the experience, the energetic experience of it, it suddenly dawns on you, oh my God, she actually did. And then flip it around another way. I don't love me. Oh my God. So it's like this amazing process that in the hands of a good facilitator will literally release us from our thoughts that we believe that actually are not doing us any good at all. So this is interesting, isn't it? This is all Gemini stuff, questioning what we think and what we believe.
Yes,
And,
very
and
important.
yes, and then there's another important planet that's connected to this new moon as well, and that's Pluto himself, which is now at 29 of Capricorn, forming what we call a quincunx to this new moon at 26 of Gemini. And that's, I think, if anyone's interested in the work of Byron Katie, this could be an amazing time to investigate it. Just go online, you'll find it. She's an extraordinary woman. And that kind of work is amazingly powerful medicine, therapy, and healing to free us from our thinking patterns.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing that these aspects of Neptune and Pluto to this new moon would be an amazing opportunity. You can watch her working with people. There's lots of videos watching her do this work.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. And sometimes people enter very heavy stuff and they're thinking about heavy traumas that have happened to them. She's able to release the attachment to a certain way of thinking about it. It doesn't change what happened. But anyway, so that's I'm just sort of offering that. I think that's very helpful kind of work to do with this energy.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And one more very curious and interesting piece that's connected to this moon is the asteroid goddess Juno.
Oh, yeah.
Is right on the new moon at 27 degrees, same degree. Now, Juno's story is that she was married to Jupiter, Zeus, in the mythology.
Yeah.
And her origin story in the age of the feminine, of the matriarchal cultures, was that she was a powerful queen unto herself. In the patriarchal era, she is now seen as the wife of the great god, the great king, Zeus Jupiter. So her role has been somewhat diminished as the wife of the great man, right? But she is very committed. She is an asteroid that's all about commitment in relationship and partnership. So she takes her role seriously, even though he is rarely faithful to her. Right? There is a sense of relationship theme. She's very much an important component of our relationship story astrologically. And so that could come up for some people on this new moon, relationship issues. Now, Gemini, Sagittarius are not two signs that have a big reputation for relationship commitment. Right? If they get really bored and restless, they just start feeling like, oh, I just want out of here. And they need to be able to have, if they're in a committed relationship, they need to be able to have lots of connections and contact and communication with lots of other people and lots of interests. If they're in a relationship that's trying to kind of contain them, no.
Doesn't happen. No.
Doesn't work.
No.
And you would know that, you
Yeah.
need lots of connection with many people and you have that in your relationship.
Yeah. Through my relationships, actually.
And through your relationship, that's right.
Well, yeah.
So it has to be very open like that.
Yep.
With lots of other things going on. And I'm not talking about sexually specifically. I'm talking about you just need to have that full life with many people and interest.
A network, yeah.
The network, that's right. And if the partner's the same, great. So these kinds of themes might come up for some people around this new moon, commitment in relationship. Okay, so let's move on. Now on the same day.
There's more?
On the same day as the new moon.
Oh my gosh.
Saturn is stationary turning retrograde at 7 degrees of Pisces, which is another mutable sign. Right. So that's important. And, as Saturn was moving into Pisces in March, on the 7th of March, prior to that, I spoke a lot about Saturn in Pisces at various gatherings. I was giving talks about it and so on. The heavier side of that story, which some people might be experiencing as it's stationary, turning retrograde, and then will be retrograde for nearly 5 months. So for a big chunk of the rest of this year, that might bring up a lot of grief for a lot of people, a deep sense of loss. And the loss might be because something's happened in their life that causes grief, or it can be just a general sense of almost existential grief and sorrow.
Okay.
And loss. Perhaps loss about the way life used to be when we were younger, or even prior to 2020, when the big Saturn Pluto event occurred and everything changed on planet Earth. It can be a feeling of loss and grief about that.
So can I just recap on that? So on the new moon, we've got Saturn retrograde in Pisces, new moon in Gemini, squaring Neptune in Pisces.
Yes.
Plus Juno conjuncting the new moon.
Yes.
That's a lot.
And Pluto quincunxing the new.
That's right. Yes, as well. Pluto.
Capricorn. It is a lot.
That's huge. It's like, how do you synthesize all that? I don't even
Well,
think.
it is. No, that's right. You see, Gemini's nature is not inclined to want to feel a whole lot. And if there are feelings and emotions, they'll quickly flip it and turn it into, actually, and I particularly know a Gemini, someone I'm thinking about, might communicate and express a personal struggle they're having. Like, actually, I've been struggling a bit lately and I've been a bit down. And then there'll be a moment in the conversation where they'll suddenly flip it. But actually, everything's really great. And there's all these great things happening, and flip, and it's flipped.
Yes.
Because I don't really want to stay there.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Now, and it's not that they're necessarily lying. In a way, both is true, because it is the sign of twins. It's dual.
Yeah.
Like, both things might be real.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit bewildering for people who can't relate to that. How could both things?
I get it, because they can compartmentalize.
Yes.
Yes.
One part is feeling this thing, and another part is like actually completely fine.
Yeah.
And
I understand it.
Yeah, and it can move really quickly from one to the other. Neptune in Pisces squaring this, and Saturn turning retrograde in Pisces all at the same time is calling Gemini to deal with what they're actually feeling. And the temptation might be to want to medicate it away.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Right? In some way, to distract themselves from what they're feeling.
Yes.
From those uncomfortable emotions.
Yes.
Right? And the Pluto part of this may be wanting to pull them into a deeper place that they may not be all that happy to go to.
And Saturn's all about, it's sort of like about endurance too, isn't it?
Yes.
So endure this, like going retrograde into it. Yeah.
Deal with it. Deal with the reality of what you're. That to me is at the heart of Saturn. Is about the reality.
Yes.
Is what is happening.
Yes.
Yeah. And Saturn, you see, Neptune, we can easily find escape routes. Neptune loves escape routes and offers many.
Where's that glass of wine?
That's right. Or let's go to a movie.
Yeah.
Right. But Saturn absolutely does not let us off the hook. Yeah. It says you are going to experience this. And Saturn has his ways.
Yes, that's true.
He has his ways of stopping us in our tracks and causing what feel like difficulties and obstacles, but there's a purpose to it. So these are some of the things that might be up for people, and everyone will experience this differently, but these are some of the things that might be going on for people, and the astrology can help us understand it and make a bit of sense of it, and if possible, find ways to work with that, and honestly, on a spiritual level, one of the most profound teachings is the teaching, and it's very Piscean, is the teaching of deep surrender.
Mm.
You know, acceptance and deeply surrendering to what is, literally.
Yeah.
In fact, Byron Katie wrote a book called Loving What Is.
Mm.
Quite a profound book about her work, and from that place of, yes, this is what's happening, and how can we come to a place of deep acceptance and find the beauty and the gem in that, and the spiritual kind of path through that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And that's the Neptune, and that's Pisces.
Mm.
Yeah.
So we've got
Okay, so we've got 10 minutes. Okay, quick, Gemini, let's move. Let's whiz through the next. Okay, on the 21st of June, Mars, the warrior planet, currently in Leo, will make a conjunction with the black moon Lilith at 18 degrees of Leo. That's very powerful, very strong energy. Black moon Lilith is all about the reclaiming of the powerful feminine and the deeper, often deeply buried energies of the feminine. I mean, again, we could have another hour's conversation about that, but we won't. But it's a very strong energy, and it's coming just, you know, a couple of days after the new moon. Some of you might have planets that's very close to my Pluto. I'm a Pluto in Leo generation girl. On the same day, on the 21st, Ceres, the great mother goddess asteroid minor planet, moves into Libra. Ceres, issues around the production of food, sustenance, feeding the people, mothers and daughters, children, babies, the great mother. In Libra, I think one of the themes of that, as she goes through Libra now over the next weeks, about a couple of months, will be things to do with justice. Perhaps the law courts around family, children, babies, fertility, food production, agriculture, and so on. Then on the 22nd, it's a very important date, very, very early in the morning. We could even say on the 21st, but in the very early hours of the morning of the 22nd, the sun will be at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Cancer. That marks the moment of our winter solstice in the southern hemisphere, and the summer solstice in the north. So these are a very powerful, potent few days. The new moon in Gemini, which we've just spoken a lot about, Saturn turning retrograde, Mars conjunct the black moon Lilith in Leo, Ceres moving into Libra, and the solstice, which is a powerful portal in itself. And on the same day, on the 22nd, Juno, the queen, wife archetype, also moves into Cancer with the sun, because she's traveling with the sun right now. That is a lot. And the following day, on June the 23rd, Vesta, we're now talking about these major primary asteroid goddess energies, changes sign and moves into Gemini.
Okay.
So Vesta is about the sacred, devotion to the sacred. She's the keeper of the sacred flame. So there's a lot going on over that whole period from the 18th through to the 23rd. And then on the 26th, Mars, now at 21 degrees of Gemini, makes a square with Uranus at 21 of Taurus. That is a very strong, volatile, revolutionary kind of combination. These are big energies all moving over a period of a week, like day after day after day.
Yeah.
So how do you go through all of that? We stay as present as possible, moment to moment, day by day. It's a real practice just to be present with it all, and to open ourselves to energetically writing all of that, and just as much as we are able to be in a deep state of allowing and surrender. And I'm not at all saying that dreadful things are necessarily going to happen. For some people, this can be exhilarating and liberating, and they're like riding this energy and having the most amazing time, because a lot will be happening, and yeah.
I was going to say, that's what I was thinking when you were saying all that. I'm thinking, well, some people are just going to ride along on the surface of all that. Other people are going to dip a toe in here and there, and other people get dragged right down into it all.
That's right.
And it just depends on our individual charts.
That's right. And what we're needing on a soul level to be experiencing, and whatever is happening, if there are, for some, various challenges that might arise, in the end, everything is always in service to our evolution and soul growth. It just is.
Yeah.
And then on the 27th, Mercury will join the sun and move into Cancer. And of course, Cancer, and that works beautifully in the Southern Hemisphere, because Cancer is home, family, self-care, nurture, nesting, closing, and even the symbol. It always feels to me like it's arms, the arms of the mother wrapping around us, and just holding the child, and taking care of and protecting and nurturing. And perfect midwinter, perfect time for us in the Southern to just be closing up shop a little bit.
Yeah, be around the hearth.
Exactly.
Yeah, the home hearth or the fireplace.
And cooking and bowls of soup, and staying home a bit more, and not, being out all the time.
I'm just thinking, did I say that right? Hearth or hearth? I can't quite remember now.
But I normally say it as hearth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the hub of the home.
That's right.
That's
right. And family life.
Yeah. So did you say Mercury's conjuncting the sun?
Now Mercury will go into Gemini.
Oh, I say, right. Yes.
Yeah, the sun will have moved on a bit, but it's sort of joining the sun in the sign.
And you said moving into Cancer, but you're saying no, moving
into Cancer.
Yeah, I'm getting all confused here.
I know. Sorry, I think I said Gemini, didn't I?
Yeah.
Coming out of Gemini, moving into Cancer.
Yes. Right.
So our thinking starts to change. Our thinking will start to turn to more personal things. Cancer is very much about our personal life. And somebody might have Cancer at the top of their chart in the 9th or 10th house, so they take that nurturing energy out into the world. But Cancer is very personal. Really, what are we emotionally in need of? And I thought I'd made a note. Have I got the full moon? No, I haven't written down the date of the full moon, which always occurs, of course, 2 weeks later.
No, I haven't written it down either.
Okay, but I will say that on the
3rd of July.
The 3rd, there we go. I wrote the 3rd of July, but I wrote something else that was happening and not full moon. So on the 28th of June, Venus, also in Leo, she will make a conjunction with the Black Moon Lilith in Leo. So the Black Moon Lilith is being very much activated over this period by Mars, the masculine warrior principle of action and standing up. And then Venus will join with the Black Moon Lilith. So that's, pardon me, the feminine principle. And all this is going on Leo, which is about the sovereign self and the power and the radiant light of the individual and expression. Like, as someone who likes to paint, and Leo's got a lot to do with, self-expression, that's one example. On a canvas, for example, I can imagine when Mars is on the black moon in Leo, I'll be feeling like really dynamic and energized and wanting to express that. I'm just using this as a metaphor, as an example, and use really strong colors and bold brushstrokes and express that powerful energy and emotion that might be moving. When Venus comes, it'll still be a strong expression, but it's more heart energy. What is the heart? What is the power the heart's wanting to express here?
Okay, so heart expression. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So there's a lot of strong energies during this time. There really is. And then on the 1st of July, so we're leading up to the full moon, Neptune turns retrograde at 27 of Pisces. Coming into that season of the year where one by one all the slow moving planets are turning retrograde. And so this happened last year too, when there was a period of months where it was like 5, 6, 7 planets retrograde. That will be occurring again this year. And it's a real slowing down, a time to, really review and integrate whatever's happened in the previous months, to really integrate, process, do the inner work, reevaluate, really look more within and more deeply, just in general over this period. That works well for us in the Southern Hemisphere because it is winter.
Yes.
So Neptune will turn retrograde on July the 1st and be retrograde for about 5 months. And then on the 3rd, we'll, pardon me, I'll just take a bit of water. By the way, when Neptune turns retrograde for those days, if we're wise, we'll take some time out, we'll rest more, we'll just chill, just what do I need to do to just chill and tune out for a couple of days. 3rd of July, then the full moon, which will be
Capricorn.
In Capricorn, because the sun will be in Cancer. Yeah.
There you go.
So that was a lot, wasn't it?
That's a lot. Well, we did say it would be a chatty episode.
Yes, very chatty. Lots to say.
Oh, thank you for all that. That's amazing, actually. There's a lot to think about. And astrology is like that, isn't it? You have to think your way through it, says me, Moon and Gemini. Gotta think my way through it.
Yeah, and digest it a bit. And
yes,
and some, like, I note these things in my diary, and everyone will kind of process that differently. But if you find yourself going through certain things, you can come back to the astrology, come back to the video. And I and many other people, I've been doing this for years, frequently say that is so helpful. It's helping me to understand and accept what's going on and what I'm experiencing. And people feel a certain relief, like, oh, it's okay, that's just what's happening.
Yeah.
And there's no point in fighting it. How can I understand it and work with it to help me move through this, and to glean from it, what is really important and helpful. Yeah.
Put the navigation lights on. It helps you too.
Exactly. Navigation.
Oh.
I mean, God, we know about all the Polynesian people who know extraordinary navigation by the stars. Astrology is a tool of navigation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Star language, that's right.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. We continue to follow the star trails through the AEST areas. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like it. Leave some comments if you feel so moved to, because it is a chatty one. It's all about Moon in Gemini. So talk to us, and share if you feel so moved too. So thank you again, Babula, for coming on and sharing your astrological knowledge and your astrological wisdom.
Total pleasure, Cheryl. Great chat.
Until next time, everyone, stay safe and God bless.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.